Welcome to Corporate Finance Upskill Reskill Study Results and Panel Discussion, brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council, and before I introduce our expert panelists, let's take a quick look at the agenda. First, I'll introduce our panelists, as mentioned, and next share some brief information about our study sponsor. We'll get right to the study results after some brief housekeeping. And so with that, let's get to some housekeeping. Attendees, please submit questions via your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll get to as many as possible in the hour. We can answer some questions post-webcast, so please don't hesitate. We're also going to have two polling questions, so please, again, participate in the poll via the GoToWebinar control panel and be able to compare your answers to your peers. And now, in answer to a frequent question, yes, you will receive a link to this webcast via email in the next 24 hours, so no need for notes or screenshots. So with that, let me introduce our panelists. Judy Romano is VP and CFO for Sage North America and a serial CFO, and I mean that in a good way, including Intercontinental Hospitality Group, or IHG, Equifax, McKesson, and Judy earned a bachelor's and MBA from the University of South Carolina and has interests in diversity as it relates to talent and mental health. Russ Porter is SVP and CFO for the Institute of Management Accountants, or IMA, and former VP of Finance at IBM for many years. Russ earned a BSBA from the University of Delaware and an MBA from NYU, and holds 3 certifications from none other than IMA: the Certified Management Accountant, CMA, the Certified Financial Manager, CFM, and Certified in Strategy and Competitive Analysis, CSCA. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor. This Upskill Reskill study and the webcast is sponsored by Sage Intacct, accounting and ERP that gives digital savvy, intelligent organizations the visibility and agility to make the right data-driven decisions. For over 20 years, Sage Intacct is a leading native cloud financial management system and the first and only preferred provider of the AI CPA, and is ranked #1 in customer satisfaction by G2. Learn more at sageintacct.com. So with that, let's take a look at the study abstract. It's driven by macro trends, including the pandemic and remote hybrid working environments, coupled with the Great Resignation and accounting CPA shortages, which have forced corporate finance and accounting departments to adapt. The objective of this important study was to identify how controllers, CFOs, and their departments and staffs are adapting to these trends. The results identified that a majority of organizations are rapidly implementing new systems and automation processes that require training or upskilling, reskilling as the new norm. The national survey was conducted from February to April 2022 this year, with more than 200 respondents participating across North America. The key takeaways are large majority, 80%, of organizations are upskilling or reskilling staffs, many to address remote and hybrid work models. The Great Resignation and accounting CPA talent shortages create challenges in recruiting, training, retention, and remote work expectations, and have the result of driving increased wages, executives spending more time on hiring related tasks, but also upskilling and training their staffs, our study itself, and investing in automation. They're also using more contract and outsourced staff. Finance and accounting automation is used by 42% of respondents, and another 44% are either planning to invest, or investigating automation. So a big number there, 86% implementing or using finance automation. And 61% of training that we're talking about includes accounting and ERP systems as the number one type of training. So those are some takeaways. And Judy, Russ, thoughts on these, or did you identify any takeaways of your own?
Well, Neil, thanks for having us. I'll tell you that the one thing that jumped out at me was your first bullet here. 80% of organizations are upskilling and reskilling, but that means that 20% are not planning or not currently upskilling and reskilling their staffs. I think that could be a huge mistake for those organizations. And I hope some of the takeaways out of this will reinforce the value of that upskilling and reskilling of our F&A employees.
Judy, how about you? Anything?
Yes, I agree, Russ. Upskilling and reskilling is no longer an option. It's something that we all have to do, individuals, as colleagues, and also as organizations. We don't have the luxury to be left behind. We have to have our colleagues to upskill so that they could remain and they could have the required skills to remain relevant in this competitive market. So I was